We will go ahead and get started. Thank you everyone for joining us for today's CSBG quarterly call, where we'll go over a number of general items. Can you see the agenda displayed on the screen here? Awesome. So to start, we will record the call. We are already recording just so that everybody knows. We ask that you keep yourself muted unless you have a question, and you can certainly unmute and ask that. You're welcome to have your cameras on if you would like. And we are going to go ahead and start with a land acknowledgement. Let me just pull that up real quick. The Colorado Department of Local Affairs building itself is situated on the traditional lands of several indigenous groups, to include the Sioux, Ute, Cheyenne, and Arapaho peoples. Additionally, our reach extends throughout the state, covering the traditional land of various indigenous groups and cultures that have long stewarded this land throughout generations and continue to do so. We acknowledge and express deep respect and gratitude to these people, and we're committed to continually working to create a long-lasting, non-extractive, and supportive relationship with Native people throughout Colorado. Before we jump into the agenda itself, does anybody have any questions or anything that you wanted to start out with, or shall we just go ahead? Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. So I'll start with my CSBG agenda for the state office. I also have Becky on the call, who is the program administrator. I think this is her second call now. You should see Becky copied on pretty much everything that I send out. And if you ever have any questions in regards to grants portal access, new context changes, and things of that nature, she will often be your primary go-to. We recently underwent a program implementation project, and I say recently, it's been going on since January 2021, with Whipley providing us some consulting so that we could really better understand at the state uniform guidance and how it applies to fiscal policies, procedures, monitoring, risk assessment, with the overall goal of being to overhaul our documentation to make it more clear for grantees and to reduce the overall administrative burden of administering CSBG, which we recognize can be significant. So hopefully this process will help ensure that we have a program implementation manual and processes that are more clearly defined for everybody, and really makes the program more streamlined and efficient for everybody as well. We did send out some survey asking for feedback on the draft manual that we sent out. And if you can take a look at that draft manual and share your thoughts with us, we would very much appreciate it. We'll go ahead and share that link out again after this call with the follow-up documents that we send out. And we really are hoping to get feedback from the network so that we know on the ground how these changes affect you. And if there's anything that we're suggesting that maybe doesn't seem reasonable, or you have specific thoughts around, we are more than welcome to hearing that, because we recognize that the reason that the CSBG program in Colorado is so successful is because of all of you and the work that you do. And we really want to support you in that and give you the best tools that we can in that regard. We're going to have another, I'm going to open this real quick. We're going to have another meeting on November 9th, which is a follow-up to that initial meeting. And we hope to incorporate some of the notes that we've gotten. I don't believe that we've gotten a ton of feedback on that so far. So if you do have the opportunity, it will be very helpful for us. And we are very much going to attempt to incorporate it into the changes that we make. So I think that's it for the most part on the program implementation manual at this point. Thank you, Josiah, for dropping that draft in the chat, and we'll be sure to send out the survey for that, the link for the survey afterwards as well. Does anybody have questions on that process or any initial feedback on the manual that they wanted to provide? The chat is an option, as well as unmuting, of course. If not, we'll go ahead and press on to the next agenda item, which is budgets for the 2023 program year and federal fiscal year 23 funds. Those budgets are going to be due November 15th, 2022. So there's some time yet. We have a change request into our IT team to update the website with the 2023 budget template. The only real difference is that it says 2023 and not 2022. There haven't been any major changes to that budget template yet. So if you have any questions or anything, you can certainly ask us. And we're doing that budget for the 2023 program year in a hope that we can really frame what the services are going to be and kind of plan and monitor around that to an extent as well. And as a part of this program implementation documentation overhaul that we've been doing, I'm certainly interested in hearing folks' thoughts on the budget process. I know that it's been shared that it may not be the most practical tool to do a 2023 program year budget at this time, when a lot of entities are still really focusing on spending down their 2022 funds. So that sort of difference between what we're asking you to budget for now and what you're actually working on programmatically and drawing down is something that folks have brought to our attention as maybe not the most, practical tool for them to use in their programs for budgeting. So if anybody has feedback or thoughts on that process and any ways that it would be more helpful or useful to you and your programs, we're certainly open to that as well. For this year, that process is going to remain largely the same as it has been. And also it's yet another process that we want to continue improving and optimizing for the overall performance of the network. And again, jump in at any time with any questions that you might have. For the budget, a lot of folks are opting to use the 2022 allocation to complete those. It's unclear what the final 2023 allocation will be. So of course that makes it a little bit difficult to budget around it. But if you used your 2022 allocation as a yardstick to measure the budget that you'll be completing for the 2023 year, that will work for now. And of course, as we find out more information about the actual 2023 allocation, as that becomes more clear from our federal partners, we will share that information out. The next item on the agenda is the 200% federal poverty level that we have been hearing so much about for these last 2 years at this point. I wanted to remind everybody that we are still using the 200% federal poverty level to determine CSBG eligibility. That has been extended through December 16th of 2022. And that's contingent on the budget at the federal level being finalized. Well, that's not contingent, but the FPL after that date remains contingent on what happens with the budget at the federal level. Of course, we will keep folks apprised as that deadline draws near if we hear anything and as more information becomes available. So for now, we're operating on a 200% through December 16th. If you have any questions on that, feel free to let us know. We appreciate everyone's continued flexibility with the unknowable tides of the federal budgeting process. And if you ever run into any issues, questions with that sort of uncertainty around the federal poverty level, let us know. We have the updated income table on our website, the CSBG Grantee Resources page still, and we try to keep that up to date so that you can always go there and see what the current FPL is. Shifting gears a little bit, looking forward, we are wanting to remind people that the annual report will be coming up at the beginning of the 2023 calendar year. That report will cover the 2022 program year, and it will be due at the end of February. So most folks are not yet starting work on that, but we want to just have you keep in mind that that data collection process will be happening, and don't want anybody to be blindsided because it can be, the annual report can be significant. So if you have new staff or if you need foresee needing any training around how to use the THO system for annual reporting, aside from the webinars and things that we do, please do reach out to us. We know that it can be a little bit of a heavy lift and are happy to support with training and technical assistance for anybody who is not sure how that annual reporting process will go or who would like a little bit more insight on that. And yes, thank you, Josiah. It'll also include reporting CARES Act data. So just keep an eye on that. And if you anticipate that you're going to have any questions or needs, please do let us know. And then I wanted to also touch on option letters. The last 1% allocation for the 2022 program year, I have drafted those option letters and sent them to our contracting department, and they've asked that we hold off on fully executing them and adding the funds to your contracts until the first batch of 2023 funds comes out because of their sort of administrative capacity concerns. So just so that you know, that last 1% for 2022 option letter will be coming out in probably early January, late December at the best, and it will be combined with the first option letter for the 2023 program year. So they will still have separate budget lines, so you can see the 1% for 2022 in the portal, and then you'll be able to see a separate budget line for 2023. But just so that everybody knows, I had initially anticipated that those 1% option letters would be executed this year, but staffing has indicated otherwise. So if you have any questions on that, or if you anticipate needing that last 1% of 2022 funds on your contract for drawdown sooner, we can certainly do that on a one-off basis. If you just reach out and let us know, we certainly wouldn't want anybody to encounter unnecessary cash flow crunches or any kind of concerns as a result of that. So if you foresee that being an issue, please do let us know, and we will absolutely do our best to work with you on that. And then that kind of lends itself to the conversation about the upcoming program year. And this is primarily for newer folks. A lot of folks who have been doing CSBG for a long time understand that we're entering a new program year. And with that, we will have new annual reports and spending plans, and that cycle of reporting and continuous monitoring will continue. So we will have the updated 2023 calendar year out by the end of October, so that you can look forward and see the CSBG activities, reportings, and trainings, maybe not trainings as much, but activities and requirements for the upcoming program year very clearly listed. We'll have that calendar out so that you can plan your staffing needs accordingly. And I did want to make a note about the state plan. Colorado does a 2-year state plan, and this year on September 30th, it was our off year. So we did not need to complete a whole state plan. We were able to just basically update the contact information and some of those more administrative details and submit that information to our federal partners. So we will be doing a full state plan in 2023. And I did want to take a moment to encourage folks. I'm pulling up the website now so that I can show you where the state plan lives on the CSBG Grantee Resources page. It is it's a really comprehensive look at what Colorado does. This is the draft, and I'm not sure if we have the final on there yet, but I think the draft was what was also submitted. So I just encourage folks to take a look at this. It really talks about CSBG at the state level, what our aims are. And in here, we did also outline that training and technical assistance was going to be one of our priorities for this 2-year cycle, which lends itself really well to that program implementation and monitoring overhaul that we've been doing, because we really want to be an exemplary state when it comes to the kind of support, training, and technical assistance that we provide everybody, so that you feel confident that you're getting the information and support that you need to run your programs really well. So that is my bit for the call. I know that I went pretty quickly, so we will create some space here. If anybody has questions, you can certainly drop them into the chat or unmute. I know we have a lot of stuff coming up here and want to make sure that we have space for everybody to feel well supported. Thank you for dropping that Grantee Resources page in the chat, Becky. I know we talk about it literally every time we're together, but it's just such a good resource. So we put a lot of time and effort into it. We hope that it's a valuable resource for you. And if you ever have anything else that you want to see on there or have more accessible, then please, by all means, let us know. Well, with that, I will go ahead and hand it over to the CCAA to present on your items.
Thank you so much, Alex. And good afternoon. Glad to see everyone's familiar names and little screen handles on the call. This is Blake Duvall, Deputy Director for the Colorado Community Action Association. And let's see, I'm not sure if we have our slides. Let me see if I can bring, okay. Thank you, Josiah. Josiah is getting those brought up for us. So appreciate everyone taking their time to join us on this call. Always glad to see everyone and get to hear from everyone around the state. We have a brief agenda for you. Starting out with a bit of good news, which we could all use more of in the 2020s. CCAA has hired a new associate director, Jessica Roshan from Minnesota is newly joined us just last month. So really excited to have her on board, coming to us with a good bit of experience from the state of Minnesota, and really just going to be a great resource for us at the CCAA. So you'll continue seeing more and more of her as we copy her on emails and get her introduced to the network. We'll talk a little bit, we'll get Josiah actually to talk a little bit about the program year 2023 objective services and outcomes spreadsheet. Talk a little bit about the child tax credit and Vita for 2023. And talk a little bit about community needs assessment and community action plan resources that we're working on. A brief membership update. And then a TNTA update, talking about the trainings that we have in state that we're planning for 2023, as well as national things that are going on. So go ahead. I think I will send it over to Josiah to talk a little bit about our objective services and outcome spreadsheet formulation. Take it away.
Thanks, Blake. Good afternoon, everyone. Great to see you all as usual. So this process, for those of you that have been around for a while, you'll recognize this process. It takes place every fall, and we do this with you to project out your activities for the following program year. And this is a best practice in the Roma cycle, where we take time to plan out what we're going to do, and then we're going to target our own success rate. So we're going to identify how many outcomes we're planning on getting. And that measure is incredibly important when we go through the annual report process, because when you report around your outcome indicators, what are commonly known across our network as national performance indicators, whether at the family or community level, you will be asked for what your target number was. And this process gives you that target number for the activities that you're planning out for next year. So you all should be getting this presentation and have all the links to these resources when you get it. Again, it's the same process we do every year. This is year 3 of your 3-year community action plan. So keep that in mind. We're about to go through another process to update your 3-year community action plan. So this is the 3rd year of that plan that you created back in 2020. And although we're creating this and we want to have it pretty much set by January 1st, which is the start of the program year, there is an opportunity to revise this after you do your annual report for program year 2022. So once you complete your annual report for 2022, early next year, you'll have an opportunity to revise these activities if you decide you want to change the numbers, or if you're looking to go into a different direction. During this process, we will talk about your past year's performance. So, or I should say your current year's performance, 2022. So be prepared to talk about that a little bit. And we'll hopefully be able to project out what you're going to do in 2023. So coming prepared with some rough numbers that you want to put on paper will be very helpful. Remember that this is projections, and we don't expect these numbers to be 100% correct. We don't know what the future holds for us. There could be programmatic changes. There could be other types of changes that affect performance and how much quantities of something you might be able to do during 2023. So again, this is a best practice part of Roma, where we take the opportunity to plan out and project what we're going to do and what successes we're going to have. So we'll take a look at the spreadsheet real quick, and the spreadsheets that we use to create these activities. So the first thing I'm going to bring up is the blank spreadsheet. We'll be looking at your previous 2022 spreadsheet, but this is basically what we're building. And those of you that have been involved for a while, this will be really familiar to you. We'll start out going from left to right. We'll identify who you are so we can combine all these and have a master list on the state side. This isn't required, but if you want to create a need statement to what we're talking about, you can do it there. Again, not required, but you can tag the amount of funds that you're planning on doing around these objectives in the spreadsheet as well, if that helps you in your organization and your measurement. The next column is what we're going to identify the federal objective as. So this is going to be your housing, your employment, your education, basically that major domain that the activity that we're talking about is situated around. And this should be in your contract as well with the state. Next, we're going to identify the services or strategies as they are in the CSBG annual report. So these are going to be the official ones that you're going to be reporting around when it comes to report time. So we like to officially identify those. For those of you that have sub-grantees, we will have, or I'm sorry, for the next column is what that service or strategy is called locally, what you call it there. So we like to connect what you call it to what we call it in CSBG. So we're very clear on what we're tracking. For those of you that have subrecipients, you can put what they call it in this column here for tracking a subrecipient activity. Next, we're going to identify how many unduplicated individuals we are planning or projecting to serve with that service. Again, these are unduplicated individuals. So if we're providing case management as the service and we're helping an individual multiple times, we're only going to project that individual once, and we're going to only report that individual once in the annual report. Next, we move into the outcome side of this spreadsheet. So here's where we're going to identify that national performance indicator in the CSBG annual report language. So whether we're working at the community level in module 3 or the family level in module 4, this is where our outcome indicator language, along with that FNPI number is, or I'm sorry, that NPI number is going to be listed here. Just like we do on the services side, we're going to translate what you call the outcome locally. It often is not the same language. So we're going to clearly connect what you call it locally to what we call it in CSBG annual report so that you can clearly identify what you need to be reporting when that time comes. Just like the services side, we have an area for you, those of you that have subrecipients and subawards, to put the subrecipients outcome language in here, again, so that they can translate what they call the outcome to what we call it in CSBG. The next column is that all-important targeting column. We call it the outcome count. Just like the services side, this is in unduplicated individuals. So if an individual gets an outcome multiple times, we only want to count that individual once. Now, one individual can get multiple outcomes, and you can report them and you can project around them in multiple different outcomes, but you only want to count that individual once under specific outcomes. So this is that all-important outcome count that you're going to use in the annual report. And then in the next column is where we calculate how many services we're projecting to provide to individuals, how many unique individuals receiving a service versus how many unique individuals are projected to get an outcome. And this is our projected customer success rate, which is really just a projection number for you on the management side and the planning side for you to understand what you're projecting your customer success rate to be based on the number of customers that you're going to serve. And the last column is for those that are doing community level work. Of course, if we're doing community level work, we don't have low income individuals that we're serving directly. And so when we're doing that, we try to identify how we're going to target low income communities or communities of low income households with that work. And so we'll put language in this column for community level work to identify how we're going to target those communities. A couple other things we'll make note of on the spreadsheets, only because it's a part of the annual report. We did include a little area where you list your projected numbers of tripartite board members for the upcoming program year. And this is really a visual indicator for you to know that you're going to have to report on those number of board members in your annual report. And lastly, this is that big area where we look at everything you're doing around CSBG, or for you, handful of nonprofit community action agencies, everything you're doing under your roof, if you will, under your operations. And we try to identify total number of unduplicated individuals to be served and total number of unduplicated number of individuals that will receive at least one outcome. And so this is where we'll look at everything we're doing above in the table, and we'll project out, okay, how many individuals are we going to serve at least once unduplicated? And that's going to be our 7A services projection. And we're going to do the same analyzation on the outcome side. And we're going to say all these folks that we're projecting to get an outcome during the upcoming program year, how many are unduplicated across the board? And we're going to use that for our 7A unduplicated number of folks achieving one or more outcomes. So those are important data points that we want to clearly have counts around, because those of you that have gone through the annual report process, since we changed it to this new format, you know that oftentimes where we have questions and where we need data revisions done is around the 7A, because it really collects unduplicated counts of everyone being served and unduplicated counts of all those that received at least one or more outcomes. Great, I'll take a breath there. Any questions or comments to this point on the template?
I just want to say thank you for doing that. When we've shown some of our other state office cohort folks this spreadsheet, they've said how incredible it would be if they had something like that to share with their community action agencies. So it really does make annual reporting much smoother and more intuitive. So thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you, Alex. Thanks to the state office. I think it's a really simplistic, straightforward thing, right, that we're putting together there. But it's something that over the years, when we went through the annual report process and we talked about those targeting numbers, we often could not substantiate those. So this is clearly a way for us to do that. And we think a very helpful way for you all to project out not only what you're going to do, but what you're going to be measuring and reporting around, which is also very important processes in Roma. So thank you. Just a couple of other notes on resources that we'll access during this process. The module 3 spreadsheet, this is where you go to look at all the community level work that is possible. So at the very end, there's a list of all the potential community level strategies that you all might put in place with CSBG to do community level work. So we might use that information. And then of course, we also have all of the various community national performance indicators that we might be working towards when we're looking at community level work. So that's module 3. And just a reminder that as with both module 3 and module 4, if you identify a strategy or service that you're implementing and it's clearly not in our agreed upon annual report that we've created as a national network, you can always use the other areas and create your own language to describe what you're doing. And then, of course, like the module 3, we have a module 4 spreadsheet that I'm going to quickly bring up. It has instructions for how to use it, and then it goes through each of those domains, the outcome indicators. So those of you that know the annual report really well, when you talk outcome indicators, this is going to be module 4, section A when you do the annual report. And you'll notice here's our target number, right? And that's going to be where we put our outcome count that we're identifying in this process. And then it goes into the services for those domains. So here we're looking at employment services, and here's where you find all of the potential services that we identified and created common language for in that domain. And again, just like the community side, if you identify a service we don't have language for, which happens, you can create an other, and the same with outcome indicators. If we do create an outcome indicator service, an outcome indicator other language, let's be sure that we're not duplicating an outcome indicator that's already created, because we will circle back on that. And then of course, our module 4 also has the all characteristics report, which those of you know is module 4, section C of the annual report. This is where we report on all the demographics of those served. So this is also a really helpful resource. Demographics are not a part of this process, so we don't really touch on demographics or that kind of thing in this projections process, but obviously a very important thing to keep in mind as you move forward, because you're going to need to measure those demographics of those served and be able to report on them. Real quickly, just wanted to run through an example of what these spreadsheets can look like when you do this in reality. This is an example of an agency that does different types of things, both at the community level and at the family level. And it's also an example, those that have taken the Roma training will probably remember when we talk about the relation between outcomes and services, or outcomes and strategies if you're doing community level. We have models where there might be one outcome for this one service we're providing, but we might get multiple outcomes for one service, or we might get have to provide multiple services to get multiple outcomes. And then there's some cases where we provide a service and you know what, we just can't track an outcome or connect an outcome to it. So we just call that a service and no outcome. And so this spreadsheet really gets at an example of where we might be providing multiple things. For example, here you'll see it, a set of housing services. We have rent payments, and we're tracking that basically from avoiding eviction all the way to maintaining affordable housing over 180 days. And you'll notice that this rent payments is really broken up to two different types of households. One type, we're projecting 70 households or 70 individuals in this household are going to be avoiding eviction. So these are folks that are under eviction notice, and we're going to be providing them rent. We then projected out about 16 folks are not actually going to be in a unit at that point in time, and we're going to be providing them with a rent that will help them to obtain their housing. And so when we put those two together and track them over time, we get 86 individuals that we're going to be tracking for 90 days and 180 days. And likewise, we do this going down. You'll notice we have other housing activities in here. We have an emergency shelter in here activity. We have some other activities that aren't housing, like transportation. This is a really interesting example where we provide transportation that is really employee-based and employment-based and is driving towards employment-type outcomes. And we also have transportation that is around childcare assistance, and that also helps out with the employment around that. And childcare subsidies is included there. So we have transportation and childcare subsidies, two services that are driving in to employment outcomes that we identified over here. And lastly here, we have a whole set of different services that are in education that's really around youth type services. And again, we're identifying certain types of services for certain types of populations, and then identifying the most probable outcome that we're going to be getting directly with those folks. Now, if we can't identify an outcome around the service, for instance, we have emergency clothing assistance here at the bottom. We don't have an outcome we clearly identified around that. So it's just a service we're providing that we're not tracking an outcome around, and that is certainly appropriate under certain categories. And then those of you that do food type services like Meals on Wheels or food pantries or congregate meal sites, you'll notice here's our food distribution and that big all catch-all outcome that we're demonstrating improved physical health and well-being. So we put all this together and we think, okay, going down all these services, all these different populations, folks receiving some services multiple times. We want to report or project out total unduplicated number of individuals we're serving. That came out to 200 in this example. And then when we looked at all of the outcome indicators and what we were projecting to get around those indicators as far as individuals getting outcomes, we came up with 180. So we're projecting that roughly out of everyone we serve with at least one service, 90% of them go on to get at least one outcome. So again, just an example that we like to use to show how you all might approach this process, especially those of you that are doing multiple types of services or programs, or when you're doing services that often will drive towards multiple outcomes, or when you're using multiple services to get one or more outcomes. If you all have any subrecipients, you'll want to work with them to get their projected numbers so that you can combine them and put them all together in one spreadsheet that will be yours as the eligible entity that you'll submit to the state. So that is my quick explanation of what we're going to be doing. And what we like is for you just to send an email over our way. You can send it to me and I can get on everybody's calendar that needs to be on there. If you could just send us 2 or 3 dates and times over the next couple months that are good for you, that you'll be prepared to project out activities and numbers around. If at all possible, at the end of this meeting, we like to kind of finalize the process now with an email between everyone. So if you can be at a position to really have strong activities and pretty strong projected numbers for us, that really helps. So any questions or comments on all that or the process? Okay, I'll send it back over.
Thank you, Josiah. I know that's as quickly and concisely as you can put that process. There's a lot that goes into that. And like Alex mentioned, it's really, you know, a great process that we're proud of, that we, you know, like to reach out to all of our grantees and make sure they feel prepared for what's coming for the next annual report and what they're going to be reporting around that. For another great resource for low and moderate income individuals and families in Colorado, we'd like to remind you all of another program that we work in. That's the Vita, the Volunteer Income Tax Assistance Program. And there will be an increase in continued increased focus because it is a something that Governor Polis is really concentrating on, trying to increase CTC, child care tax credit, and earned income tax credit filings. So we will be reaching out and letting everyone know that these are available and we have some resources available. If you know of any community partners that that might be interested in joining our Vita network. And so we have a few resources and links I wanted to go ahead and share. We don't need to go through all of these right now during the meeting, but just wanted to make these available to all of our eligible entities. If you're interested, we have estimates for unclaimed CTC by zip code. So people can see if there's unclaimed child care tax credits, you know, not dialing into, you know, to a neighborhood or anything like that. But at least we can see that by zip code and get an idea for the demand that's out there, for the need that's out there. We also have an IRS toolkit page that's really for agencies to use both to print out materials, PDFs and things like that, as well as things to share electronically, resources to share electronically. And then we have the IRS's CTC and EITC pages for families, for filing individuals. And then we have our coloradovita.org website, which has Vita sites listed by zip code. And just a reminder that it only shows sites that are actually currently open. So some of those sites don't open until the actual filing season in early 2022. But again, like to remind everybody, this is still a great resource and a great sort of jumping off page for people that are thinking about getting a head start and being prepared for doing their taxes early next year. So any questions about Vita? Again, like to just remind everyone and keep that front of mind because it is a great resource for our families in Colorado. For our training and technical assistance update, CCAA's website is going to be continue to be updated and built out with additional resources for community needs assessment and community action plans. You'll see we have some recorded webinars and some files there from past annual report trainings. So we're going to continue to build out this page. So wanted to keep highlighting that because we're really going to continue to build that out with additional materials for community needs assessment and community action planning in particular. We are planning our 2023 regional forums. Missed seeing you all out in the field. We haven't done these the past couple of years because of COVID, but really excited to get back to hosting these. So we are finalizing, exactly where we want to host all these and exactly what our plan is going to be, but we're looking about 10 locations around the state for summer of 2023. So really excited to get out there and meet with all of you and your community members. We will continue hosting virtual introduction to Roma trainings. Really, with the unpredictable springs and winters that we have in Colorado, we think that's most feasible, for the short term. But also please let us know if you have a larger group that would be interested in having an in-person Roma training. And that's something that we can also get back to hosting as well. But just, for winter and spring, we're going to plan virtual trainings, and we'll be sure to promote those and let you all know when we get those scheduled. And then as always, we offer tripartite board orientations and that CSBG intents and purposes training really upon request as we get new members into our network. And then we have our link there towards the bottom for CCAA's membership drive for the 2022-2023 year. So if you haven't updated your membership, please go there and do that, and you'll see Josiah navigating us there. And we have how all of our eligible entities are broken down as far as their membership and what type of membership they have. So appreciate all of our members there and encourage everyone to become members if they see that appropriate. And we have our CCAA Board of Directors meeting upcoming Friday, November 4th. So please email us if you'd like to attend that, but we always like to throw that out to the network. Always like to have anyone that's interested attend our board meeting. So everyone's welcome. And then we like to remind everyone of national trainings as well. We have the National Community Action Partnerships Management and Leadership Conference in February, and I believe that's down in New Orleans. Josiah, correct me if I'm wrong on that one. But NASCAF's Midwinter Conference, date's still to be determined, but it's early 2023. Cap Law is planned for Austin, Texas in June. And then the National Community Action Partnerships Annual Convention. So next August, so planning a good ways out, but that will be August 23rd through 25th in 2023 in Atlanta, Georgia. And as a reminder, we do, CCAA does have scholarship funds available on a first come, first serve basis, but that is something that we like to make available to the network with any discretionary funds that we have available annually. And thank you, Josiah. A good point as well to keep these things in mind as you're making out your budgets for next year. So a good time to make a wish list of the professional development you would like to attend. And as I mentioned, there's our link for requesting scholarships. And I believe that's just the landing page. So you'll actually have to click on the link to request a scholarship from that page, but try to make it as easy and user-friendly as possible for our network. And here we have all of our contact information. and really look forward to hearing more from you all. And again, excited to welcome on our newest member, Jessica Roshan. Thanks
Thank
again,
you.
everyone, for your time, and I'll turn it back over to Alex.
Alrighty. Well, that's everything that we had on the agenda. Last call for thoughts, feedback, jokes. Just kidding. But if you have a good joke, feel free to drop it in the chat. As always, thank you everybody for your time. We very much appreciate it. Anytime you have questions, we hope you feel comfortable reaching out. There is no such thing as a silly question. There's only me telling you that I'll have to find the answer and get back to you. So thank you, everybody. We hope you have a fantastic day. Enjoy your extra 14 minutes. And this call will be posted to the CSBG website within the next couple of days for anybody on your staff who might have missed it. Was that a joke, Mandy? I think Mandy. Grass, I lied about the wheels. Okay, Mandy's got a joke. What's green and has wheels? Grass. I lied about the wheels. There you go. Enjoy your Tuesday, everybody. We appreciate you being here and all of your hard work. Have a good day.